let's go to content types on this list.
Mm-hmm.
And then add content type. We're going to add a new content type. And we are going to create a new content type about musical artists. So it used to be called band, but that doesn't work if someone wanted to enter it like a solo act. So actually, for the handout, just make it artist, singular. So we match the handout, artist. And they should be singular. So content types should really be singular and not plural.
Artist.
Because what we're going to be doing is, when an author is on your site, they're going to be creating a new artist, singular, not a new artists, plural. All right. You often want to put a description in there. And so artist, it could be nebulous. It could be, this could be like a painter or something as well. So let's specifically say, use this to create a new musical artist. So this is very helpful, especially if you have a lot of content types. You're going to want to put a description in. This will only help your authors. All right. And then down below in those vertical tabs, let's go through these. So with any content type, we get a title field by default. We don't have to add it on the Manage Fields page, but we may not want to call it title. Would a band have a title or would a band have a name? So I think in this case, the word name is probably better. So let's change that title field label to main. And then the preview before submitting, you can force authors to click a button that says preview before they're allowed to save. I don't think we'd like to do that. You can disable that functionality completely. I think optional is a good middle ground. So let's just leave it as optional.
Okay.
And then if you've got a content type that's particularly obscure or you need to kind of provide a little bit more background on, you can put some text in here to kind of help authors out a little bit. I think for this one, we're probably fine. So we'll just leave it blank. Let's go to the next vertical tab, publishing options. And these are, as it says, the defaults. So when someone goes to create a new artist, these are the default values that they can change. So by default, all artist nodes will be published. They'll be promoted to the front page. Sticky at the top of lists. I'm not even going to talk about. It's like a leg. This has been around since like Drupal 4, and I think folks just don't want to remove it because it's been around so long. We might talk about it later when we talk about the views module, but honestly, I haven't seen anybody use this checkbox in years, so we're just going to skip it. And then the new revision stuff we talked about earlier as well. So you can default to have a new revision created or not. So we'll just leave default values the way they are. Let's go to display settings. This is basically the byline checkbox. Do you want musical artists to have a byline? I say no. Let's change something. So let's uncheck this. So there will not be a byline displayed when an end user is looking at an artist. And then menu settings, we saw this a little bit, but this is, which menus do we want artist nodes to be able to be placed in by the author? So I think let's make it so none. So uncheck main navigation. And so when an author creates a new artist node, they will not be able to put it in a menu by default. So I think that's good. So let's save and manage fields. So that initial screen, that's the edit page. You can see the edit tab up top under the word manage, the big manage. If you ever want to change that metadata that we just set, you can go back to the edit tab. But we're on the we want to do some field stuff. Since we've been talking about field API for the past 2 days, let's start adding some fields. So I just want to make sure I go along with the handout. Okay, so by default, in Drupal core, when you add a new content type, you get a body field by default. That's what we see here, is this body field. I just want to make sure I'm going according to the handout. Yeah, okay, so let's go ahead and edit that body field. So what do we get on here? We can change the label. So maybe we don't want to call it body. Maybe we want to call it description. You can leave it here for now. Leave it the way it is for now, but you could change that here. You can add help text for authors specific to this field. It will appear in kind of gray text underneath the field. You can make this field required. You can have that summary input that we talked about, that link, or you can also require the summary so that they have to enter a default summary. And then you can also set the default text format, which we haven't talked about text formats, so we're not going to worry about that yet. So let's not change any of these, but let's scroll back up to the top, please. Let's look at field settings. So field settings for body to fields or text formatted along with summary fields, the only field settings we have are whether it's multi-valued or not. So for body fields, almost always they're going to be single valued, or this is going to be set to 1. Because what this is basically saying is that for any artist, we only need 1 body field. And that kind of makes sense. So we'll leave this one as well.